Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram all have something in common, and it's not their dominance on digital platforms. They're all busy working on launching buy buttons for their mobile apps. Buy buttons allow consumers to purchase products with a click of a button without leaving the app. But what's the motivation behind launching these buy buttons, and more importantly, will consumers take to these buttons with as much gusto as social media apps are? Vijaya Ravi finds out.
Have you ever browsed through countless catalogs on Pinterest and wondered, where can I pick up that exact blue dress? Or scroll down your Instagram feed wanting to buy that specific pair of Nike shoes? Or wish that Google would just tell you which mobile phone to buy instead of sifting through countless sites? If you have, then the social media gods have answered your prayers. Pinterest, Instagram, Google and YouTube are all following in the footsteps of Facebook and Twitter in their quest to launch buy buttons. What does this mean? Well, with the click of a button, you will be able to browse through your friends' status updates, photo uploads and shop at the same time. So, the question we are asking is whether consumers will actually buy into this proposition.
Consumers will try them. A small percentage of the population will try them and see what it's like. It's going to be more of an impulse buy. For products that people tend to take time to consider and think about, I think they're still going to be going to traditional websites to make that final purchase.
I think the trend, though, is not going to be such that people are going to shift all of their buying onto social networks. I think it's going to be a small shift, but I think it's going to be significant.
What's interesting is that consumers across the world will potentially react to these buy buttons differently. According to analysts, consumers in the US, where shopping online is already far more sophisticated, might be far more receptive to buy buttons across all platforms. But consumers in Europe, where the trust factor of shopping online and where consumers don't appreciate intrusion on their personal sites, might not appreciate the new features as much. Even emerging markets like India, for example, where internet penetration is far lower than its Western counterparts, the adoption of this feature might not be very high.
For a nation of 1.25 billion people, we are 290 million people who have bank accounts. We have 17 million last sort of credit cards issued, and probably about 160, 170 million debit cards, of which 65% of them are ultimately used only for ATMs. So it's lovely to have a button, but you need the back-end economy supporting it as well.
Not that many of our people who surf are buying online. Maybe one out of 12 to 15% of our online population are people who buy who buy online. While these launch in India, you will see kind of the elite Uber user beginning to use them simply because it's convenient. Many more people will start clicking. That 12.5 or 15% of Indians who do buy online can go to 20, 25, 30%.
Not only will consumers from different countries react to this feature differently, but the success rate of buy buttons will also vary from app to app. Larger sites like Facebook and Google, for instance, just in terms of size and the fact that they are used for multiple purposes, might see a more positive response to the button. Even a Pinterest, for example, where the whole app is designed like a catalog, would be able to incorporate the buy button well. Whereas smaller and more specific social sites like the Instagrams and Snapchats of the world could get a negative response, given the fact that the buy feature might not be as seamlessly incorporated and could be an irritant.
Well, I think it varies a bit by site. For search engine, we use those a lot when we're doing our shopping, and so it's fairly natural. And to some extent the same with Pinterest. You only go there for things that you're really interested in. It's a bit different though on social networks. I think some users may find it a bit intrusive, and the buy buttons may, like the adverts, get in the way a bit.
How much of an impact it will have in a YouTube ecosystem where the core proposition is free, is to be seen. How much of an impact it will have in an environment like, Pinterest or Twitter, where I am largely following, people, trends, etc., is again, I do believe that a platform like Facebook, it makes a lot of sense.
The biggest boost that these buy button features will provide will be an increased number of impulse purchases. Given the fact that advertisers and marketers will now have so much more information about their consumers' shopping behavior, the opportunity for mass customization becomes far higher. Brands can start interpreting and predicting what a user could potentially want to buy before the user has realized it themselves, and that could increase sales for certain brands provided they are innovative.
Consumers consume brand and brands' content. They don't consume platforms. And brands which can understand the digital ecosystem and the changes that's happening in the digital ecosystem will stay ahead of the curve, is what I feel.
The brands all need to work out for themselves which sites their products work well on and which sites work less well for them. In many ways, it's not really different from bricks and mortar stores. You need a distribution strategy. You need to work out which stores you want your product in and which stores you are less concerned about. And having some data fed back to you about the purchasing, that's a really important aspect of it.
Buy buttons are definitely in vogue, but consumers may not react as enthusiastically as the social apps seem to be currently. While the buy button may work for some and bomb for others, analysts believe that it is still worth the risk. The cost of implementing a buy button is far less than the potential revenue it could bring. So this sudden burst of enthusiasm may not actually be so unwarranted. But it'll be interesting to see who the real winners are once the e-commerce battle begins in full swing.